There's a moment that happens in every British person's first American diner experience. You've ordered what you think is a simple breakfast, and suddenly the waitress asks if you want your eggs over easy, over medium, or sunny side up, while offering you a choice between hash browns, home fries, or grits. They also want to know if you want bacon or sausage links with your short stack or full stack. By the time she mentions something called chicken and waffles, most Brits are quietly wondering if they've accidentally wandered into some food fever dream. But it's not a fever dream, it's American cuisine, and in this video we're talking about 9 American food dishes that completely baffle Brits. Number 1. Biscuits in gravy. Let's start with the most fundamentally confusing dish for any Brit, biscuits and gravy. When Americans say biscuit, Brits picture something you dunk in your tea, a hobnob, a digestive. What they don't picture is a fluffy, buttery, scone-like creation drowning in white sauce. The history behind this American Southern staple actually makes perfect sense. Dating back to the Revolutionary War, this was working class food at its most practical. Cheap flour could be turned into filling biscuits, while sausage drippings could be stretched into a protein-laced gravy that would fuel laborers long throughout the day. Food historians actually trace the roots of this dish to Scottish and Irish immigrants who brought similar techniques to Appalachia. But try explaining that to a Brit who's staring at what looks like a savory scone drowning in bechamel sauce at 8 in the morning. British food writer Jay Rayner described his first encounter with biscuits and gravy as like someone had taken everything I thought I knew about breakfast and fed it through an American translation machine. Because the confusion isn't just cultural, it's linguistic. In Britain, gravy is brown and made from meat juices and served with Sunday roast, not with breakfast. This white, peppery concoction that Americans serve at breakfast simply didn't seem like gravy. Next up, the combination of crispy fried chicken with sweet, syrupy waffles represents everything that makes British people nervous about American food. The portion sizes, the sugar content, and sometimes the complete disregard for a boundary between sweet and savory. This dish tells a fascinating story of America's cultural fusion. It first appeared in the late 1600s in Pennsylvania Dutch country, where German immigrants brought their tradition of serving fowl, as in birds, with waffles. But the version that you'll have today took off in the Jazz Age, particularly in Harlem's late-night eateries where musicians finishing their sets around 3 a.m. needed something that was both dinner and breakfast. Roscoe's House of Chicken and Waffles, which opened in Los Angeles in 1975, turned this historical oddity into a cultural phenomenon. But for Brits, who are used to waffles being a sweet treat if they eat them at all, are a little bit confused by the sight of someone cutting into fried chicken and then drowning both the meat and the waffle in maple syrup. British comedian James Corden famously described it like watching someone put gravy on ice cream. Technically possible, but morally questionable. Next on my list is grits. It's not that the concept is completely foreign, after all, Brits do have porridge. But grits occupy this strange middle ground between a breakfast cereal and a side dish that doesn't really exist in breakfast culture in Britain. Grits is made from ground corn kernels, and they can be served as sweet or savory, as a breakfast base, or alongside dinner. You can have them plain or loaded with cheese, butter, and shrimp. The history of grits is deeply rooted in Native American cuisine. They taught European settlers how to grind corn into this coarse meal, and it became a staple across the American South. Thomas Jefferson was apparently very fond of grits, serving them at state dinners in the White House. But none of this historical context helps when you are a Brit on holiday in America wondering what is going on. The texture is a little bit of a stumbling block. Grits have a very specific texture. Some people describe it like eating wet cement, and some people really love it. So I would advise on trying it for yourself. Next on my list is something that I love as an American, and that's PB&J, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. A PB&J to an American is the most natural thing in the whole world. To British people, it is violating a lot of principles of sandwich construction and is just not a thing. This sandwich is a combination of sticky peanut butter with sweet jam on typically soft white bread, though it doesn't have to be white bread. And the development of the PB&J in America is actually quite recent because peanut butter was invented in the 1890s. The PB&J itself didn't become popular until the 1940s when rationing during World War II made both peanut butter and jelly, which is America's word for jam, it made them readily available and affordable. By the 1960s, it had become the default children's lunch across America. But British children grew up with entirely different sandwiches. Proper British sandwiches would be like ham and cheese, maybe egg and cress, or even just a cheese sandwich. The idea of sending a child to school with a sandwich that seems to be filled with very sweet things is not a British thing. It's a very unique American approach to comfort food, and I know that if you haven't grown up with it, you might not have the taste for it, but this is one of those things where I will tell you, I think peanut butter and jelly is delicious. Next on my list, mac and cheese. Now, we do have some caveats here, but let's get started because British people do have macaroni cheese. Typically called macaroni cheese in the UK and not macaroni and cheese like we call it in the US, but it is a fairly standard dish. Pasta, cheese sauce. Okay, done. What Brits typically don't understand is what Americans have done to macaroni and cheese. We've supersized it. We've neonized it, and we have transformed it into something else entirely. The American version of mac and cheese often features unnaturally orange cheese that glows under fluorescent lights just like we like it, thanks to processed cheeses like Velveeta or the powdered cheese that comes in box versions like Kraft. The portions of American mac and cheese are enormous and it's often served as a main course rather than a side dish. Then we have all kinds of fillings. Mac and cheese with hot dogs, mac and cheese with lobster, mac and cheese with truffle oil, mac and cheese served in a bread bowl. Thomas Jefferson is often weirdly credited with bringing macaroni and cheese to America after encountering pasta in Italy. Sorry, Italy, but the processed fluorescent version is a purely 20th century American invention. The development of processed cheese during the Industrial Revolution, combined with American preferences for convenience, transformed this simple comfort food into what we have today. And I would also just like to say, as somebody who has lived in the UK as an American for a long time, Scotland has the best macaroni cheese, no doubt about it. Next up, corn dogs. Perhaps one of the most iconic American food items that people don't understand is called a corn dog. There's not corn in it. It's a hot dog, which we call a Frankfurter or an American hot dog, covered in cornmeal batter and deep fried, obviously, on a stick. Also, obviously. It sounds like something you might invent as a joke, but it is not a joke. Americans created it, turned it into a state fair institution, and actually argue over who invented it because it was invented around the 1940s, but multiple American cities are trying to claim it. The most widely accepted story involves the Fletcher brothers at the Texas State Fair in 1942, who called their creation corny dogs. The idea was very simple. Take a hot dog, make it portable, again, convenience, and add a sweet corn batter that would make it even more indulgent. This is something that is not eaten in Britain. You are not going to find a corn dog in Britain I mean, listen, I'm sure somewhere there's some American food stand serving corn dogs, but not typically. To them, this is kind of disturbing. It's kind of disturbing to most Americans as well, but it's part of our culture, so we embrace it. And the next on my list is ranch dressing. Now, ranch dressing is a very, very popular dip or dressing in America. We put it on everything. Salad, which is what I think it's supposed to be for, but pizza, chicken wings, French fries, everything. It's a creamy concoction that's become very popular in American dining, and many restaurants will simply assume you want it with whatever you've ordered. It's become like a ketchup. Now, ranch dressing was invented in 1972 by Steve Henson, who owned a ranch in California and served his homemade buttermilk dressing to guests. Hidden Valley ranch dressing, the most popular type of ranch dressing, became a commercial product, and it had become America's most popular salad dressing. But I think to British palates raised on different condiments like salad cream or even something more simple like a vinaigrette, Ranch dressing can be overwhelming. It's very thick, it's tangy, it's heavily flavored with herbs and garlic, and Americans use it in vast quantities. You can find ranch dressing nowadays in some stores in the UK, it's just not very popular. Next on my list is just deep fried everything. British people aren't used to how Americans deep fry basically everything, though Britain did give the world fish and chips, but Americans just went one step too far. American state fairs, for example, have become basically labs for deep frying experiments. And you're not just talking about like deep fried food that should be deep fried. We're talking deep fried butter, deep fried candy bars, deep fried ice cream. Somehow it works. Deep fried Twinkies, deep fried Oreos, the list goes on. The Iowa State Fair alone introduces dozens of new deep fried items every single year. And again, when it comes to deep frying in the UK, deep frying tends to be practical. Fish and chips for the occasional takeaway, the occasional deep fried Mars bar if you're in Scotland and you're feeling adventurous, but American deep frying just goes so hard. It's not even about food, it is literally a challenge to see what's possible. Now, last on my list are s'mores, a dessert that I love and does confuse British people who haven't had them. So first you take a graham cracker, which is where it already starts falling apart because graham crackers don't exist in Britain. Graham crackers are like sweet biscuits for my British audience watching. They are not crackers. Confusing, I know. Take a graham cracker. Add a piece of chocolate. It's going to be Hershey's if we're in America, but you can use your own. Top it with a marshmallow that's been roasted over a fire until it's burnt and gooey. Then you smush the whole thing together and you eat it while it's still hot and messy and you burn your mouth. The s'mores dates back to the 1920s when it appeared in Girl Scout handbooks as a campfire treat. The name comes from the fact that people always wanted some more after finishing one, and it became deeply embedded in American childhood culture. I've had countless s'mores throughout my life. They remind me of summer camp, of Girl Scout activities, family camping trips, and you don't even need to go camping to have them, to be honest, but they are more of a summer thing. Again, for Brits, s'mores has kind of a disconnect. There aren't graham crackers here, they don't typically toast marshmallows over fires, and this combination just isn't a food that's eaten in the UK. Now that brings me to the end of this video. Comment below on any other American foods that might confuse you as a Brit. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.